Hey, welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome to our second look at my collection. AKA Timur is on vacation and can be arsed to actually make an episode. Well, enjoy! For the second half of the collector special, we'll take a look at the second half of the room. Top shelf are mainly stuns. Then we come to the Cobra water guys. You've got the eels, a water moccasin, and a few hydrofoils. Yeah, you're gonna see not just vehicles, but also another load of figures here. Because, well, I didn't have anywhere else to put them. Below those, you've got a custom made Desert Fox that I just painted black and gave to Cobra, and some Cobra Rage vehicles. Below that, the G.I. Joe Water Brigade. You've got a lot of shipwrecks, you've got a lot of torpedoes, and of course, you've got the big one, the Killer Whale Hovercraft. True story, I actually have two. The one from my original childhood is sadly still in a million pieces somewhere in the attic of my parents' house. I got this one from a friend and it was pretty much complete and it was all in one piece, so I just took that one. There's Havocs next to it for no explained reason. Then below that, well, miscellaneous really. Nothing really that special, but, well, if you got the space for it. And I've even got stuff on the floor because, well, running out of shelves quickly, people. The next row of shelves are his tanks. And there's a barely visible thunderclap behind them. Yeah, I really like his tanks. You can tell because there's another shelf. You got the Mark IIs, I think? No, the Mark IIIs, the Mark IVs, the original ones, and even a few custom made ones. Those are septic tanks that I quickly painted over and did some work on. Below those, it's Fang Central. You've got the Fang Mark IIIs from the newer series, and a bunch of original Fangs. Also, a bunch of Neo Vipers and other figures that I really didn't have any other space for. And below those, Stingers! Lots of Stingers. Yeah, I also really enjoyed those Cobra vehicles. And with, of course, their drivers. The bottom shelf is miscellaneous, though take a look at the imps. Those things are hard to get complete. Up next, it's a Rolling Thunder that's mostly obscured by other figures and vehicles. Below that, Joe vehicles, and a lot of figures. Some of which are customs, meaning I just put a new head on them, because they all used to wear helmets that obscured their face. And you might also notice something a little special, an Action Force Wolverine that's painted black. I love that thing. The next two shelves are mostly G.I. Joe vehicles, with a few Cobra ones thrown in. Why don't you have a look and try to figure out what's what? Yeah, do my job for me! Fellas, I'm on vacation here. The most interesting things to note here are that you've got faceless G.I. Joe troops. They made green shirts, which is great because G.I. Joe needs legions too. The next two shelves are all devoted to Arctic Joes and Cobras. You've got Snowcats, you've got a bazillion figures in white, and of course you've got Cobra Wolves, my favorite Arctic vehicle. That's why you're seeing quite a few of them. With of course lots of snow serpents from different eras. The next part I have to warn you about because it's a bit ugh. You see, my collection is infested with maggots. Lots of maggots. Yeah, I really love the Cobra maggot. Though you'll note that most of them are missing their antenna. And the next shelf is actually not G.I. Joe at all, but Transformers. I'm not gonna go into it too much because, well, it's a G.I. Joe show, but you know, pause, zoom in, see what Transformers you can make out. Like Starscream. Okay, that was an easy one. And Cyclonus. These guys are actually from the Classics line, my favorite Transformers line. To round it off, we'll look at the top shelves. That are, of course, filled with flying vehicles. Well, where else can you put them but on the top shelf, right? Along with various figures that came with them or are flying themed in some way. You got the Stealth Fighter, you got the Sky Striker, you've got the Night Raven, all the classics. A Mamba, which wasn't released in Europe really. Well, maybe it was released in Europe, but not in Belgium. And like the also iconic Rattler that you can barely see, and the new Sky Ravens from the movie line. I really like these because you could get a bunch of them for cheap and have your Night Raven fleet. We'll close out by looking at my mint on card collection. Now, most of these aren't actually the originals. They're really from the 25th and 30th anniversary lines. I just think they look cool in the package and all. I'm not really a mint on card collector. I'm more of a loose figures guy, as you could plainly see in part 1 and parts of part 2. There are a few rarer things in there, but nothing really to write home about. Though I am a little proud of the Televiper. And also, most of the cards that are from the original line are European. So they're either in Dutch, French, or French and Dutch. There's nothing really that rare here, except maybe a Cobra Commander from a convention that I managed to find. And of course, a Tiger Force Psych Out. That was only released in Europe. Kinda proud of that one. For the rest, well, figures that I managed to pick up fairly cheaply, and some other stuff like Transformers. Hell, even one of the new Thundercats ones. And other miscellaneous, nice pieces, I suppose, from Star Trek and Gundam. Well, that was about it. I hoped you enjoyed taking another look at my collection, and I hope I didn't bore you to death with my narration. Next week, we're back to regular reviews. And I think there's gonna be screaming. Oh, yes. See you next week, everybody.